Hey everyone, this is Lydia and I'm taking a quick look at the recently revealed Xbox One X to explain what it actually means for you and your games. This is an incredibly powerful machine, the most powerful home console ever built, but all those highly impressive specs can be a little hard to unpick and put into context. Handily, Xbox have revealed a huge range of tasty Xbox One X enhanced games to help us explain 8 ways that Xbox One X lets you feel true power. Before you've even switched on the Xbox One X, you're already dealing with a feat of engineering genius. As you'll hear across this video, it's a console with some seriously beefy specs, but it's also the smallest Xbox ever built. About now, you're probably crying witchcraft and looking for your pitchfork and flaming torch, but it's actually down to all manner of efficiency techniques that allow the components to effectively manage each other and the introduction of liquid cooling to keep those parts from melting with raw power. The idea of liquid cooling in a console is pretty mad. It's usually something reserved for more beast-like PC rigs, but it's all part of Microsoft's desire to make Xbox One X play nice with your current gaming setup. Not only will it not hog your TV stand, but the liquid cooling and fan system will be incredibly quiet. It even uses the exact same cables as your Xbox One S, so if you've got one of those set up, you can simply swap out the cables and have your TV Xbox One X ready in a matter of seconds. Power has never been so easy to harness. The first thing that struck us about BioWare's incredible co-op action RPG Anthem was the sense of life that exists outside the walls of Fort Tarsus. When our freelancers plunge from great heights, we see them passing over herds of animals running around on the jungle floor or picking fights with one another. These beasts seem so happy to whack one another, it almost seems dumb to waste our ammo ourselves. And as the producer told us on stage, it's all being conjured up on the fly. Hundreds of virtual lives making virtual decisions to create events that will never repeat a second time. But these things are achievable is down to the CPU, which handles AI duties and acts as the brain behind the game. And Xbox One X has a pretty awesome brain. Its 8-core custom AMD CPU is clocked at 2.3 GHz, making it capable of conjuring incredibly complex scenes without having to take a hit in other departments. It means a game like Anthem can easily stir up lots of dynamic events, like the Shaper Storm that we see ripping the world apart. This may look quite similar to the wind flares in Gears of War 4, but where they were heavily scripted set pieces, we're led to believe that these can occur when the game wants, a trick that's aided by that beast of a CPU. You'll also see it put into great use in Assassin's Creed Origins, which is taking more of an open world simulation approach than previous games in the series, which means you'll see animals behaving as they should in open environments and far more complex behaviours from the NPCs that fill the world. Xbox One X allows games to be smarter and lets you experience the thrill of outsmarting them. I can't wait. Xbox One X has 12GB GDDR5 of graphic memory. Now that may sound like a new droid from Star Wars, but what it actually does is give the console the speed and power to handle bigger worlds and faster load times. The benefits of that second one are obvious. No one likes a load time. If you die as much in games as we do, this means you're going to spend much less of your life staring at tiny whirling loading icons. No, where that graphic memory really gives you the advantage is in vast open worlds. So it's no surprise that Xbox chose to show off the console with several ginormous playgrounds at the conference today. Take something like Assassin's Creed Origins. This is a game that's all about immersing yourself in historical simulation. You want to be able to fly your eagle friend up into the sky and see the world stretch out for miles. You don't want to unleash your bird and see the game engine struggling to load in trees or buildings. This game is a great test of visual strain for the console, and it does amazingly well. Clamber up to higher places and you can see further than you've ever seen in a Creed game, using none of the cheesy sandstorm or fog tricks that games turn to hide their lack of horizon. You also get a taste of what that memory can do when our hero finally emerges from the underground of Metro Exodus and sees the abandoned town stretching out beneath him. Metro has always been an incredible looking series of games, but it came at the price of linearity. These were insanely pretty corridors. The idea of seeing that attention to detail let off the leash and flooding a large open space is really exciting. Look how detailed the world is as you sneak through empty houses. It feels like a place we could really live in. Yeah, if it wasn't for the giant mutant mole things trying to eat us every minute of the day. That's the problem with even bigger worlds on Xbox One X. It means even more ways to die. Yeah, good luck with that. Next up, let's talk about teraflops. People say that the devil is in the details, and if that's true, then the Dark Lord himself is going to love 4K gaming. The 6 teraflop GPU is what lets Xbox One X handle those obscenely massive 4K assets, the textures and details that would choke any other console. I think it's telling that Xbox chose to introduce Xbox One X to the world with a trailer that showed classic Xbox heroes being rendered in incredible detail, as being able to see character details with a new level of clarity is one of the biggest benefits of Xbox One X. Many of these characters are made in 4K before being modified for 1080p TVs, so we're actually going to finally see these characters as the artists intended. One game where this will have a huge impact has to be Shadow of War. If you're familiar with the game, you'll know that involves fighting your way up the ranks of the Orc army, meeting hundreds of randomly generated characters on your way. These fiends can vary in hundreds of ways, from their tribal affiliations to more twisted personal quirks. As such, every face you see is genuinely original creation and full of life. In the Xbox conference footage, we see a member of the Machine Tribe, augmented with a metal chin and other mechanic parts. That we can make out these tiny details easily is all thanks to those 4K assets, which are all thanks to that monster of a GPU. It means uglier orcs, prettier Forza supercars, and eyes that water at the lot of them. Let's talk about high dynamic range lighting. For those of you that picked up the Xbox One S last year, this next point may be preaching to the converted. High dynamic range lighting, or HDR, is a 4K television technology that gives you a range of colour beyond the norm. On a technical level, it involves your HDR-enabled telly using thousands of individual light sources in the screen to create the whitest whites and the blackest blacks. It's one of those technologies that is amazing when you see it in person, but very hard to convey without an HDR-enabled video, which this is not, so you'll just have to take our word for it. If 4K assets bring the ludicrous levels of details, then it's arguable HDR brings those assets to life by bathing them in a more natural light. If you compare a HDR image with a non-HDR image, you'll be surprised how much more you can see in the HDR screen. It has so many more gradients of light and dark that it reveals colours that would have previously been lost in the gloom. Now, the most obvious game to benefit from this tech will be Forza 7 and its new dynamic water systems. As storms roll in and the sun is blotted out by dark clouds, you'll really be able to sense that light leaving the world. Likewise, when you turn that corner into the final straight and the day is just about to break, you'll almost want to flip down the sun visor to deal with that intensity of the natural light. It should also be an absolute treat in Crackdown 3. Not only is this a game about sudden bursts of colourful, fiery carnage, but the futuristic setting, where grim buildings are spiced up with giant neon screens, is perfect for showing off that contrast between light and dark. Seriously, if looking at 4K art is like getting a pair of glasses after years of fuzzy sight, then HDR is like turning up the dimmer switch. It's truly revolutionary. One of my favourite things about Xbox One X is that not only will it benefit games going forwards, but we will also see many previous games being enhanced for the console. At the end of the conference, Xbox announced free Xbox One X updates for Gears of War 4, Forza Horizon 3, Killer Instinct and Halo Wars 2. The copy of the game you already own will be patched in with better assets and performance boosts, and will be quite different from playing it on Xbox One. But it's not just Xbox showing 4K some love. A huge range of third-party publishers will also be releasing Xbox One X enhanced updates. One of the 30 or so in development I'm particularly excited to see is the decaying horror of Resident Evil 7 in its full eye-shattering glory. And the promise of an update to Skyrim Special Edition is enough to get me to spend another 100 hours pretending to be a weird cat person. We'll also see patches for the likes of Ghost Recon Wildlands, For Honor and The Witcher 3, meaning many of us are already sitting on a substantial library of 4K ready titles, just waiting for Xbox One X to come along and unlock their potential. Considering the worst bit of any console launch is normally waiting for some actual games to turn up, this particular method skips straight to the good bits, loads of gorgeous games. Here's the really amazing thing about Xbox One X. Even without a specific Xbox One X update, your current games will play better on the new console. In the same way that some games got a smoother frame rate when you compared them on Xbox One and Xbox One S, you'll see even clearer benefits on the new console. Xbox One X isn't just emulating an Xbox One, it's pumping all that beast power into getting those games right. I should also note that all this goes for Xbox 360 back compat titles too. Many of them are seeing frame rate improvements on Xbox One and could get even better on the X. Here's an example. Some Xbox One games, such as Halo 5, use dynamic resolution scaling. They change their resolution on the fly to keep the frame rate steady when there's heavier amounts of activity on screen. Xbox One X can handle pretty much whatever you throw at it, so it won't need to be altering that resolution to keep on top of things. And this is just one of many benefits we can expect to see. You'll be looking at less screen tearing, more stable frame rates, and faster load times. This isn't just a machine designed to make the games of tomorrow possible, it wants everything to look better. And what Xbox One X wants, Xbox One X gets. Some of you are probably thinking, this all sounds great, but I don't have a 4K TV, so what does it mean for me? But just as Xbox One X plays nice with your older games, it plays nice with older TVs too. Microsoft don't want games to be a confusing mess of different options for different TVs, so have designed the X to ensure 1080p TVs benefit from performance boosts too. If a game has 4K enhancements, the Xbox One X uses a technique called Supersampling to improve a non-4K image. It basically sees a huge leap in anti-aliasing, which is how jaggy the edges are. Depending on how people choose to harness the power of Xbox One X, we could see games getting a decent performance boost. Improved frame rates, for example, that would also be felt on a 1080p TV. Obviously, the real magic of the console kicks in at 4K, but it's great to know that it offers something for everyone. Question is, if you get one, will you be able to hold off buying a 4K TV for long? Those are 8 ways Xbox One X lets you feel true power. Obviously, we're going to be learning a lot more about the console over the next coming days, so make sure you've subscribed to the channel to get the latest on the hardware and the games that it brings to life. Let me know in the comments below if you've got any burning questions you want answered about the machine, and we'll try our best to answer some of them. Please do check out our other E3 content and give this video a like. We'll be back soon with even more Xbox One X, so don't miss it. Bye!